I love animation. I am an artist and an animator, and so naturally am inclined to do a certain amount of research about it. To me, animation is like a passion rather than a hobby or a future career. I like to learn as much as I can about not just the technical side of animation, but the sort of cultural or the general perception of animation. That being said, I have become more acutely aware that animation, although it is typically seen as child-friendly, intended for kids, that is not the case always, because animation isn't a form of child-friendly media. It's a tool for creating art. It's a form of art, and as such, you can make things for any age group, any audience. And there's a bit of a harmful disconnect because all animation typically, or unless it's explicitly adult animation, is seen as child-friendly by default. Like, these other animation made for other audiences or age groups is seen as outside of the norm. That being said, the fact that animation is seen as associated with children isn't so off base, because children are actually affected by animation more than other more conventional forms of media. And this is because animation typically has bright colors, simple shapes, and a combination of audio and visual, as well as usually an interconnected narrative. This engages the child more, so they'll retain more information from animation when compared to less exciting things such as school. And this is important because not all animated media is created for children, but all animated media affects children greater than non-animated. So you could have these potentially harmful effects on your children if you're not careful, like monitoring the content that they're exposed to. This actually personally happened to me. My two nieces came across an animated YouTube video that seemed like it was targeted at kids, acted like it was aimed at kids, but was actually depicted violence, gore, used cursing, and encouraged self-harm. This had a great effect on the both of them. One of them actually had to go to counseling because she had night terrors because of it. And this made me aware of a more darker effect that animated media could have on children. And in doing more research, in a previous English class, I did research on the topic of how certain minority groups their sense of self can be affected if they're positively represented in animation or child-friendly media. They have a greater sense of self, better self-esteem, but if they're negatively depicted, they have more negative self-esteem. So I kind of had some background knowledge on the effects that animation can have on kids, but after doing some research, certain studies show that up to 70% of kids can be psychologically affected by the animated media that they consume, and up to 78% of kids show clear signs of different behavior after watching cartoons. And not only are they affected by it, they're watching more cartoons than ever, because, of course, like, they're constantly surrounded by screens. Children ages 2 to 5 watch 32 hours of cartoons a week, and ages 5 to 11 watch 28 hours of cartoons a week. This is astronomical amount of media consumption. And what's dangerous with this is media can have this effect on them, and there are those that will, whether intentionally or not, use the media to try and teach them or indoctrinate them into certain ways of thinking, be it advertisers trying to get money from them, certain people trying to change their opinions about certain groups of people, certain beliefs, or in the case of Disney, they promote a certain country's culture over other, like, less traditional forms of culture. And these can all have the effect of altering what a child thinks, what they learn. This is dangerous because this unfiltered, undocumented, like, media is having an effect on children that's very dangerous. There, however, are some steps that you can take to be more proactive in monitoring what your children are up to, such as the American Board of Pediatrics recommends no child under 2 years of age use the internet, and children aged 2 to 5 use up to an hour a day of proactive educational material. There are also certain parental groups recommend limiting the amount of screen time or the days where children are allowed to use technology, and also have blackout zones during the week where they can't use any technology or the internet. They also recommend that you teach your children internet literacy, where they are taught to what they can and can't do, what sort of sites that they can access, what is appropriate and inappropriate behavior, so that they can be more proactive on their own. I think that that would be the way to go, is to teach them to be more proactive. So in conclusion, children are greatly affected by animation, and animated media, whether intentionally or not, can teach them. And there are some that will use this to benefit them, but others will use it to harm them. It's important that you be more proactive in the media that you're allowing children and young people in your lives to consume, because you never know who might be trying to have an effect on them. Thank you.